The maestro hits a very, very bad note. Former Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan tried to make the argument that low interest rates during his tenure as Fed chair were not one of the reasons why we had the massive housing bubble and this awful credit collapse and Great Recession. Those are similar comments to what current Fed Chair Ben Bernanke said in a speech earlier this year. And my response to that is, what planet are these two gentlemen living on? Of course, low interest rates engineered by the Fed were one of the culprits of the housing collapse. It's not the only reason, they're not the only people to blame, but they do deserve some blame. What do you think, though? Milton Boden said the Fed definitely is one of the guilty parties. There's always been a lag between changes in monetary policy and the resulting effects. It amazes me that the Fed feels safe with loose money because, quote, inflation remains low, end quote. To expect an instant response is to be totally ignorant of feedback theory where long-time constants are present. It seems that the Fed is being controlled by the stock markets and the banks instead of the Fed providing the regulation. It's a great point. Definitely interest rate effects do lag. So for the Fed to say and claim that it didn't see any need to raise rates back then is definitely not the right argument to make, because I think we do now know that if you keep rates low for a long period of time, it could help create asset bubbles. Mick Tang, however, thinks we should lay off the maestro a little bit. You can't purely blame the Fed for the housing bubble. Our first line of defense were the lenders. What happened to the lending standards of the 1990s and before? It was the lenders such as Countrywide and IndyMac and all those slime bag mortgage brokers who created the housing bubble. They swindled unqualified, undeserving, and unsophisticated home buyers by convincing them that they can attain the American dream. Another good point, and I agree, definitely, the Fed is not the only guilty party here. You have to look, obviously, at many of the banks and mortgage brokers. They were very greedy and did sucker unsuspecting consumers into getting loans that they probably shouldn't have. However, consumers probably should have some blame as well. It's not as if mortgage brokers put a gun to a consumer's head and said, buy this house or else. And along those lines, Jake Bechtel says we all need to take a long look in the mirror. It is time to stop trying to blame one or two people for the decline of the U.S. economy. We all did it. The fall of the U.S. economy was guaranteed when we began treating stocks, bonds, and real estate as commodities to be flipped on a short-term basis and convinced ourselves that there was no end to 20% per year appreciation in value. Greed throughout society caused economic collapse. And there you have it. Despite what Gordon Gekko said, greed isn't necessarily good. And by the way, Oliver Stone, why are you making a sequel so long after the original?
Someone reminded me I once said, greed is good. Now it seems it's legal.
Not going to be good. But anyway, greed, not good. End the story.